What's up, everyone? In this video, I'm going to be going over 10 things that you can do in order to bulletproof your rentals. As real estate investors, we want to make sure that this is as passive as possible. And there are some things that we can do on the front end that will actually help us cut down on any unnecessary expenses in between tenants. So let's go ahead and get into it. So number 10 on the list is going to be screening your tenants properly. I was actually going to put this much farther down on the list, but they actually can't destroy your units if you don't screen them properly and put them in there in the first place. So although it is very, very important, this is going to be number 10 on the list. There are plenty of websites on the internet that do very good screenings. I actually use mine through my property management software, which I will talk about later. But it's very important that you screen your tenants properly. You want to make sure that you are getting very good background checks done on them. You are calling their previous landlords. You are doing credit checks on them, as well as checking their income for verification. You want to make sure that they at least make 3 times gross rents in income every single month to qualify for your rental. And typically anything over a 700 credit score is a good indicator that they may be a good tenant. Number 9 on this list is going to be installing quality doorknobs. Now, doorknobs are going to be something that is going to have some of the most wear and tear as far as anything else in the rental. So you're going to want to make sure that you put quality doorknobs in there. If you put a $15 doorknob on there, it's probably going to fail within a year. If you spend $10 more, you may be able to get a little more longevity out of that, and that's going to save you money. You're not having to change it. You're not having to pay somebody, a repairman, to come change it in between tenants, and you're also just not having to fork out the cash for another $15 set. This goes for entry locks especially. I can't tell you how many entry locks I changed at the very beginning of my real estate investing career because I was just buying the lowest grade quick set that they had on the shelf. I'd end up changing it in between tenants. You know, a lot of these cheaper products are going to have cheaper internals and they're going to be more susceptible to weather changes. So you want to make sure that you install a quality lock. Specifically something that has like a smart key design to it where you can actually rekey it in between tenants very quickly. You can take an old key, put it in the lock, and actually rekey it with an old key and give that to your new tenants. It's going to save you a lot of money and a lot of time. So number 8 on this list is installing solid core doors wherever possible. I know that the cheaper route is actually to install hollow core doors on the interior, and you can do that, but just keep in mind you're going to have to change those much more frequently. If you put a solid core door on the interior, it's probably never going to need to be changed. If anything, it might need a little bit sanding, repaint it, good to go. But doors, just as door locks, are going to have some of the most wear and tear of anything else in the apartment. And definitely install a solid core door for the entry door. I've actually purchased property before where it had a hollow core door as the entry door. Number 7 on the list. If you're going to be installing a tile surround or having someone install a tile surround for you, make sure that they seal the backer board. When you put tile on a surround, you're actually supposed to put hardy board behind it, and on top of that, you're supposed to put a membrane, a waterproof membrane. I can't tell you how many times I've snuck up on my tile installers and noticed that they were not putting any waterproofing behind the tile. This is very important, and I learned early on in my career from having cheap tile installers put in showers for me that it will fail. There's eventually going to be water that gets behind the grout on the tile, and it's going to have nowhere to go but back behind that hardy board where it's just going to damage more stuff. So make sure that you're actually having your tile installed properly and your tile installers are not going the cheap route and leaving you with a mess down the road. Number 6, using grout caulking. I also can't tell you how many times I've had tile installers just grout the corners on my showers. You're actually supposed to put something called grout caulking, something that is got some sort of silicone in it that's going to expand and contract. The corners and where the tub meets the tile are going to expand and contract over time. You want to have something in there that is actually going to waterproof it and make sure that it can expand and contract. If you just put grout in there, it's going to crack and you're going to see that crack over time. And that's only going to allow water to get back behind your tile eventually. So make sure you're doing everything you can to waterproof your rentals. Number 5, Installing quarter turn valves underneath your sinks and your vanities. In my experience, they last much longer than any kind of compression fitting, and it's much easier for a tenant to get in there and turn it off if there is to be any kind of issue and you can't make it over right away to shut off the water. There's less to fail on a quarter turn valve. And also, do not install any kind of flexible P-trap. All that is going to do is catch all that debris over time, and it's going to build up, it's going to back up, you're going to have to make a call to a plumber, and you're going to have to fork out the cash for them to come snake it out. Make sure you're installing normal P-traps underneath your sinks. That flexible DIY stuff is going to fail. It's going to cause you problems over time. Number 4, installing quality fixtures. At the beginning of my real estate investing career, I would buy the cheapest thing that looked half decent on the shelf and I'd install it. Well, I began to notice that I'd be changing those out in between every single tenant. You want to make sure you're installing quality products, specifically something that offers some sort of warranty. There are companies out there that offer warranties on their products, although I never use them because it takes too long to get the warranted part in. It just gives me a little bit of comfort knowing that they offer that warranty. It tells me that the product is built with quality in mind. Specifically, something to look out for is a shower valve. Buy a quality shower valve. There are companies that offer warranties on shower valves as well. This goes for lighting also. I typically do not install LEDs anymore because they tend to fail. I just install regular old lights where I can have the tenant screw in a light bulb if they need to. It's too much of a hassle. If your LED light burns out, you've got to take that whole thing down and replace the whole fixture. It's very cheap to go get some bulbs and throw them into a regular old fixture instead of having to go buy a new light, pay an electrician to throw the thing up there. Number 3, installing hard surface countertops. I install butcher block, quartz, or granite. At the very beginning of my career, I was putting in Formica, and I started having to change that out in between every single tenant sometimes. I even tried buying the more quality products, the more quality Formica products, and they just get scratched up and dinged up and they warp from the water around the sink. You're going to have to fork out a lot more money up front to put in a hard surface countertop, but it's going to save you in the long run. Granite is virtually indestructible. As long as you're not having to go in there and remodel and change the configuration of the kitchen, it's going to last you a very, very long time. Number 2, installing luxury vinyl plank. Now, I actually only started converting over to luxury vinyl plank probably 5-6 years ago, and the first round of me doing this, I purchased a very low grade, low quality product from a wholesaler, and I installed it on a ton of my units. Well, a year later, that was failing. It was breaking at the seams. So if you can install luxury vinyl plank, I would suggest kind of going down the middle of the road rather than cheaper, because the cheaper products tend to fail. You want to get something with a high wear layer, like a 20 mil wear layer on it. It's going to be much more durable. And something to keep in mind also, although it is waterproof, if you install it in your bathroom, you want to make sure you caulk around the toilet. You want to make sure that you caulk around the tub. That way you keep water from getting underneath it. Luxury vinyl plank is going to last you much longer than any kind of carpet that you'll buy. I originally started installing the luxury vinyl plank in the kitchens and living rooms, and I would leave the bedrooms with carpet. And I thought that was a good idea, give a little bit of diversity to my units. However, I started noticing that I would have to change out the carpet in the bedroom every 1 to 2 tenants, and it would cost just as much, if not more, than if I had put luxury vinyl plank in. If you put in a good quality luxury vinyl plank, it's going to last you at least 3 tenants. I don't have to go in and replace any kind of luxury vinyl plank that is quality since I've had my mishap of buying the cheaper quality stuff. So it's lasted me at least 4 or 5 years so far in all of the units that I've installed it in. If you have hardwood floors in there, I would recommend sanding and refinishing those. Those will just last you a lifetime. I have apartments with hardwood floors in them. I resand them, stain them. They're good to go. Hardly ever have to restain those and refinish them. So I don't recommend covering up any kind of hardwood floors. And number 1, property management software. If you're going to be doing this yourself, make sure you have property management software. The property management software that I use is Buildium. I've been using it for the last 5-6 years, and in my opinion, it is the best bang for the buck if you have more than, let's say, 20 units. I actually converted over when I had 22 units. It has saved me so much time and so much money over the years since converting to property management software. Property management software can handle your leases, it can handle online payments, it can handle maintenance requests. At the very beginning of my real estate investment career, I would actually have the tenants deposit the rent in my bank account, and I would request that they sent me a copy of the deposit slip. Well, that didn't always work out. Tenants would forget, so I had to kind of change it up and tell them to add like 1 penny or take away 1 penny from the amount they were going to deposit, so I could actually differentiate which unit was depositing their rent. Over time, it just became a hassle having to go through all those rent deposits to make sure that nobody was late. So now that I have property management software, all of my rent payments are done automatically. It accounts for anybody that needs a late fee, and it sends them an automatic late fee. So there is no question about it. Back in the day when I started doing this, tenants would deposit their rent late and they'd act like they didn't know they'd have to pay a late fee. So I'd have to go through the trouble of calling them and having an uncomfortable conversation and dealing with that. Whereas a property management software is just going to automatically send them a notice if their rent is paid past a certain date. So boom, I've got rent automated. Next, I can actually have my leases all done electronically. That saves me even having to meet them to sign a lease. I tell tenants sometimes I don't even have to see them after I show them the place, because every single thing after that is done online. I can get everything squared away with their account online, and I can leave the keys for them at the apartment with the door unlocked. Easy peasy, and with a little luck and nothing breaking inside the apartment, I don't ever have to see them again, which is good for them and good for me. I used to get maintenance requests throughout all hours of the night. Now, built into the property management software is a tenant portal where they can submit maintenance requests. So they submit it that way, and I don't have to deal with all of these requests coming in throughout all hours of the day. You can actually link that to a vendor, to a repairman that can actually see those coming in and take care of those for you. So maintenance becomes somewhat automated. Built into the property management software is actually a place where you can list your apartments online. It syndicates them to multiple websites, and it's very easy. All the data is saved from the description, all the photos are saved, and it makes it very simple. So everything becomes much easier with the property management software. You're saving yourself time, you're saving yourself the hassle, and possibly some money down the road. If you're not having to go in and spend all that time on your accounting, it's going to save you money in the long run, because when you would otherwise be doing that, you could spend time finding more deals. Time is money. So that's my number one recommendation. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. These are some of the things that I've learned over the past 10-15 years of doing this. Hopefully they helped. If you got any questions, please leave it in the comments down below. And thanks for watching.